dark ladies, penguins, just happen to be watchers of this program. My name is Envy Adams. What the hell? No Riverdale. Might as well cover the spinoff, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So, thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who do not know, my name is Envy Adams, and I am JImmiPynk's evil twin sister. Well, some say evil, I just say better. And I, maybe bullied a little bit, I wanted to review at least the first 5 episodes of the chilling adventure of Sabrina. So that's what we're here to do today. First of all, Jimmy would absolutely hit me in the head with a hammer if I did not thank everyone who supported and donated to the hunt for Pynk October. It's a success, and she is going to go ahead and hit the button on the GoFundMe tomorrow in case there are any last minute donations. Oh, I'm sorry, by the time you guys will get this, it'll already be November 1st. What a shame. Halloween is absolutely positively the best day of the year. Also happened to be Sabrina's birthday. So let's go ahead and discuss the first half of the chilling adventures of Sabrina. We decided to do this in place of Riverdale since there was no Riverdale this week. So, a couple of notes I want to get into right away. As you can see, I'm not using my sister's notes. So unorganized. Of course, this is a spinoff of Riverdale. So there are some similarities to Riverdale. Some positive, some negative, and we will get into that. But as far as the use of color and style to determine characters, the various pop music and a lot of times way too on the nose remakes of pop songs, and of course the non-specific era clothing. I don't know what it is about the Riverdale writers. They really don't want you to know what time period this is. And in case I missed something, I don't remember seeing any cell phones in the first 5 episodes. Seems to be everybody's on home phones. So that's something that they did not do on Riverdale. However, there are laptops. But that's very Riverdale too. You don't want us to know what time period it is, but you do have some things here that are very, it gives you a general. So anyway, we'll go episode by episode and just some things that I've noticed. So episode 1, we start with something that is very familiar, Riverdale. We have the voiceover. In this case, it is by Sabrina herself, which I've always had a theory that Jughead was the main character of Riverdale. So we have the voiceover. We have them having traditional teenage fun. So we have them at the movies, scary movie marathon, and then they go to a diner to discuss the movie. Gee, don't know where I saw that before. We get a lot of pop culture references here as well, which is also very Riverdale, whereas the characters are very familiar with the literature and pop culture. Of course, it's mostly going to be horror-based or witch-based, but that is something that is also very Riverdale. What I will tell you is you can definitely tell that these are supposed to be in the same area. Episode 2, we did get the Riverdale shout-out. We'll get to that in a minute. It is very different from Riverdale. Now, your first episode is basically everything the trailer told us. Sabrina is turning 16. She has to have her dark baptism. What we didn't know is that the dark baptism was going to determine whether she was mortal or witch. We didn't know she got to be both. And of course, we have some racism because the witches don't really want to deal with the half-mortal. Some other things, you guys may have known this because maybe you guys read the graphic novels. I did not. Again, I am a fan of Archie comics. I really never got into Sabrina. I was more into Josie and the Pussycats. But there are some characters that I am familiar with. I did know who Harvey was, and we do come in with Harvey already being her boyfriend. He professes his love to her. She has these two friends that I was not familiar with, Roz and Susie, who are wholly damn stereotypes. Or should I say, unholy stereotypes. So we have Roz, who is like, got the Afrocentric hair. She's wearing what could be the equivalent of neo-soul clothing, even though, like I said, the clothing is not clothing specific. But if you think of the people like the neo-soul people and how they like kind of wear like the throwback to the 70s clothes, she's very that, earth tones, big afro hair. She's wearing her glasses. She's very pro-black and pro-feminine. And then she has her friend Susie, who is poor and basically raised by her dad and is just a big old tomboy that never looks like a girl. Short haircut and all. And what was confusing to me watching this is when they initially said that the football players was teasing her and lifted up her shirt. I was curious to, was she trans? But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. She's going by Susie, so she's not trans. I'm only through episode 5. I don't know. She could just be a tomboyish girl. They do make those. Principal Hawthorne. Now, I want y'all to know something. I'm a little bit older than most of y'all to watch my channel. There used to be a TV show before there was Family Matters, before there was Urkel, because this was actually the show that Family Matters was spun off of. And it was called Perfect Strangers. Hi, Balky. Balky Bartolomeus. Bartolomeus. He was from some fictional like island and he was foreign, but he had a cousin. Anyway, if you ever get a chance to look up Perfect Strangers, you'll love Balky. But he's very of his time. Balky is the principal, and that's Mr. Hawthorne. I can't help to think that, I'm sure it came from the comic, but I can't stop but think his last name is Hawthorne because of Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote the Scarlet Letter. It's not exactly about witches, it's not the Crucible, but it is a connection because there was a woman that was persecuted. Okay, moving on. We also have Black Cousin Ambrose. Hey! It's black characters on Sabrina. Hans, Bueller, I have a question. We're sisters. We say the same thing sometimes. If Aunt Zelda and Hilda, which we know from Sabrina Teenage Witch and all other media, are also Ambrose's aunts, and Sabrina's father was their brother, who's Ambrose people? Who's Ambrose mother and father? Anybody? Inquiring minds would like to know. Of course, Aunt Hilda, Aunt Zelda. Now, the Weird Sisters. And I'm going to need your help on the Weird Sisters as well. Are they like the Canker Sisters on Ed, and Eddie where they're actually sisters? Or are they like the Stepford Cuckoos from X-Men? I know I'm throwing some references out there that's above some of y'all heads. Or are they just the power of 3? Like, why are they the Weird Sisters? And the reason why I ask that is because one is black, one seems to be Asian, and one is white. And y'all sisters? It's not impossible, and I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, Sabrina is not sure if she wants to commit her soul to the Dark Lord. I can't say that I blame her. Then they start this group, and here's where we start getting Riverdale. The initials of the group is Wicca. Witch, please. Really? Really? That's some Riverdale shit right there. Riverdale has a very bad habit of being too on the nose. Which, when we do the wrap-up, I'll get into the music, because they had to have found every song. I'm only through episode 5, and we got seasons of this shit. Y'all gonna go through every single song to say anything about a magic or a witch. Y'all gonna go through every one that y'all can get the actual rights to get ancient. That's also very Riverdale. Come on, Jailhouse Rock for no reason. Okay, so episode 2 is where we get Salem. Now, we're all familiar with Salem, right? We all wonder, how is they going to do it? Was Salem going to talk? Well, they explain that familiars are actually goblins that take animal form. You can pick them from a book, but Sabrina decides she wants to do a spell to find hers. She wants somebody that wants to be a partner. Now, I'm not just your owner. We're going to be partners. We're going to look out for each other. And Salem only speaks in goblin form to say, you called for me, and then turn to that cat. See, a familiar is talking just to his owner. To everybody else, it sounds like he meowing. That's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that immensely. I thought that was very clever and very well done. Also, I left out Miss Wardell, who, the original Miss Wardell got possessed in the first episode, and now we got this badass Miss Wardell dressed differently and everything. That's the Riverdale alarm. I don't know if y'all can hear that because it's in another room. We'll continue. I kept looking at Miss Wardell, and I'm like, I know this lady from somewhere. I know this lady from somewhere. And then Jimmi said, I know where you know her from. I said, which where? You know, my twin watches a lot of British sitcoms. And there's this British sitcom called Greenleaf that's set in a hospital that is hilarious, and it is on Netflix right now. So if you're reviewing this, if you're watching this review, that means you have Netflix. I would suggest, if you like British comedy, to go ahead and look up Greenleaf. She's on there. And we're going to get into, when we get into episode 5, how her comedy comes to play, as well as Balky, Mr. Hawthorne. So, Miss Wardell's familiar as a raven, so you know, very similar to Ruby, and I know I'm throwing out a lot of references to y'all. Very similar to Ruby, when Raven and Crow turn into a Raven and a Crow, they can spy on, fly around and spy on and find out what's going on. This is when we're introduced to the High Priest, Faustus. Faustus Blackwood. I'm going to let that go for being too on the head, because I'm going to assume that that is canon from the comic book. But Faustus is the high priest. He was also Sabrina's father's protege. And Sabrina's father surpassed him. So not only is he a racist against half-witches, I might be a little bit jealous. Would not doubt, and I'm only in episode 5, but I would not doubt if he had something to do with them parents being killed. Just saying. But they get him to try to convince Sabrina, oh, you should take the baptism. See, that's God that's about all that do right and this and this and this. Our God is about, the Dark Lord is about free will. And then she gets to that ceremony and find out bullshit. Get to that ceremony and find out bullshit. And she runs. Ambrose saves her. Now she in trouble. And this is when we get the mention of the Weird Sisters, who hook up with Sabrina, and then they wear their weird matching witchy outfits to go seduce these guys to play a trick on them for messing with Susie. Anybody remember the episode of Riverdale when they did some shit to Chuck Clayton like that? This is a different show. Y'all can't recycle shit like that. Because for those of us that are Riverdale fans, I'ma clock everything you motherfucking recycle from Riverdale. You hear me? You recycled that shit. You did it a little bit different because these people got witchcraft. But you recycled that shit. Moving on to episode 3. Because now she's going to court. She's in violation because she showed up to the altar in her mother's wedding dress. The turned black. Great effect. And we find out Aunt Zelda and the father put her on the altar and gave her, signed her name in the book, gave her to the Dark Lord at birth. But what they didn't know is Sabrina's mom and Aunt Hilda already had her baptized in the church the day before. Contract is null and void. Some kind of way we find this mortal lawyer that knows shit about witch law. Some Riverdale shit. And it is deemed no. She will maintain dual citizenship. Basically, she will still be mortal. She will still be a witch, but she has to study part-time at the school for the unseen arts. Because for whatever reason, the Dark Lord wants her. That is Miss Wardell, which is all we can call her right now. Because up to episode 5, I do know now she is the mother of all demons. Witch Daenerys, if you will. But I don't know what's going on yet. And when we get the 6 through 10, maybe I can tie some of this up. But then we have this side storyline about classic literature being banned, and Miss Wardell is trying to get Sabrina on her team. So she's like, well, this is the banned book club and this, yada, yada, yada. And Wicca can help some Riverdale shit. A side motherfucking storyline that ain't got nothing to do with nothing that we didn't need. Moving on to episode 4, it's Sabrina's first weekend at witch's school. And she's getting Harold, which is basically her being hazed. Originally in Greendale, they had witch trials too, but they kept them quiet because the witches are still there. They making her go through the heroin. We find out his kids that died from that. So Sabrina, again, pulls some shit. Never do this to me again. On some Betty Cooper shit. On some straight Betty Cooper shit. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Excuse me. Some more Riverdale shit. Surprise, surprise, surprise. They got a choir at the school that's led by the high priestess' wife, who's black. Woo-hoo! More black people. And she joins the choir. And of course, Sabrina can sing. Y'all start busting into motherfucking music numbers like Riverdale. I'm out. This is supposed to be horror based. Y'all start busting into unnecessary music. I'm out. But of course she can say, Prudence, you have some competition. Well, Prudence don't like that. Because you know Prudence just, and her squad, the Weird Sisters, just don't fuck with Sabrina. They don't like her half-breed, this and this and this and this. But check this out. It ain't even necessarily her. It's her daddy, because Faustus is her daddy. I will tell you this, I ain't see that coming. Especially when we got the whole storyline, and sometimes Riverdale writers are good at the misdirect. Sometimes. That was a good one because they were saying, you know, we've lost these children, and Aunt Zelda was a midwife. Aunt Zelda is like the religious zealot. Except for, instead of her being Bible thumping, she's satanic Bible thumping. So, you know, this is the high priestess. That's like somebody Catholic saying the Pope asked you to do something. She gonna do it. So they asked her to be, you know, my wife is with child again. You know, we've lost children. You've never lost one. Please be our midwife. So, of course, to us, that we thinking that means they ain't had no kids. Well, golly. Shazam. Anyway, then we meet Nick Scratch, little cutie patootie that's a stand for Sabrina's dad. I mean, he stands Sabrina's dad hard. And you already know he would just do anything to get in Sabrina's pants just because it would be like, I got my idol's girl. Crazy, isn't it? And when we get to episode 5, oh, she feeling Nick. And I would too because Harvey's a dork. I'm sorry. Anyway, then we find out Susie's uncle worked in the mines. I forgot the storyline about Harvey's dad owning the mines and was going to force him to work there even though something happened to him when he was little. Because I don't fucking care. Riverdale is very bad at that too, giving us side storylines that don't nobody give a shit about. They bad at that too. Sometimes they make them main storylines. Hi, Archie Fight Club. But Susie's parents went out of town, Susie's uncle, and then Ross stays the night. They like something is wrong with the uncle. He ain't been right since he been in the mines, and they thinking like he mentally ill. That motherfucker possessed as hell. Full-fledged possessed by some kind of demon. And Harvey wants to talk to him because he was like, well, I want to know if you seen what I seen in the mine. Okay. Alright. I don't like it. I don't like the some kind of way. It's going to be a reason Sabrina has to tell Harvey, and it's going to be, they going to be helping some Riverdale shit. Like, I don't need a Betty and Jughead storyline with Harvey and Sabrina. I don't, but I know we getting one. Now let's get into episode 5 where it got really, really, really fucking Riverdale. What I mean by that is Riverdale has a very, very bad habit of having an episode that goes all the way to the left that you're like, why is this an episode? Why did y'all do this? Okay. So in the meantime, when Sabrina goes to school, she wants to study demonology and all these things like her dad. They had her in herbology basically to make potions and shit. So Faustus says, I'm going to give you this puzzle box. I'm sorry, I don't know what the name of it is. This puzzle box to open. And if you can get this open, I'll let you in classes for demonology. Well, of course, motherfucking Spellman Stan over here, who's been reading the father's journals, says, oh, you know your father made that. Faustus has been trying to get into that for years. So she finds the key, and of course the key is her mom, and he smuggles her out a book and all this shit. Very fucking Riverdale. Hi, Black Hood and the Nancy Drew book and the codes. Hi! But she gets it open and the sleep demon comes out. So this sleep demon comes out and we basically get a whole episode of dreams! Dreams! And I brought you all my dreams because I love you. Comment below and let me know if you knew what song I was singing. So the whole episode is them in their dreams. So how it connects to the actual story out of a 57-minute episode was probably about 17. So this sleep demon puts them all to sleep and we get all their dreams. So one thing I will say about this, I felt like this episode was pointless, but I love how it was shot. Very Riverdale. Riverdale is very good for using them colors and situations to identify you with a character. So when Sabrina has her dream, Sabrina's dream is very red because her wardrobe is a lot of red. Somebody that write Riverdale is in love with the color red because Sabrina is very, very red too. So her dream was red. And her biggest fear was her friends turning their back on her when they find out she's a witch. Especially Harvey. Aunt Hilda, who is digging Principal Hawthorne the most, and she a virgin. I'm like, I don't know why we had to put that part in there. Like, that was unnecessary, but okay. We already know she was kind of like the dorky, offbeat sister. We didn't have to throw in there she was a virgin too. But she's scared to be stuck with her sister forever. Because Hilda treats her like trash. Hilda was heroing her at school. Like, Hilda be killing her, because I guess one of her powers is to come back to life. Hilda be killing her. Like, She's just mean to her. I'm sorry, not Hilda. Zelda be doing this to Hilda. And then we come to find out Zelda's biggest fear is to lose Hilda. I cannot believe they showed the scene where Aunt Zelda roasted a goddamn kid. And they showed that shit on the table and said, "Oh, Dark Lord, this is your favorite meal, roasted child." So she has two biggest fears. Being shot by the Dark Lord and then losing her sister. And then Ambrose's fear, I don't know what the fuck it is, never getting out the house alive, I guess. Because he was on some motherfucking Tom Cruise live, die, repeat type shit. I don't know. But I feel like that was for the gore factor, because in case y'all are watching this and y'all haven't been watching Sabrina, they own a mortuary. He does a lot of the embalming because he is stuck. He is bound to the grounds of that house. He has been for 75 years for punishment for what I can only assume when he astral projected to go on a date trying to blow up the Vatican. I'm assuming that wasn't a lie. But of course, Wardell comes to her in her dreams and Sabrina saves the day on some Betty Cooper shit. And I stopped right there because I was like, alright, y'all getting real Riverdale. But I am excited for the next 5 episodes because Sabrina finally goes to Wardell and says, "Nah, bruh. Who and what are you? Stop fucking around." And she said, "Well, you better come in." So I'm excited to watch the rest. I would say I apologize, but I don't. For those of you guys that don't know, I had planned on doing this video Friday, and I was always doing it in 2 parts, Friday and Saturday. Unfortunately, my aunt passed away Friday suddenly, so the schedule did get messed up. But we really wanted to do Sabrina, so we're doing it now. So I hope it's not too late for you. I want to thank all of you guys for watching, because, you know, envy's a different bird, and it's fine. Jimmy would also like to thank you. Jimmy will be back for episodes 6 through 10. Jimmy would like for me to thank her patrons, people that donated to her PayPal, most of all the people that did donate to the Hunt for Pynk October. We're going to come up with another charity next year, not in October. We're going to do another drive for another charity. We have not decided what it's going to be just yet, but it's going to be something that I can participate a little bit more in so that she's not drained. And thank you for watching. Now, I must bid you adieu. So I gotta get the fuck up out of here.
Hey yo, I dog these niggas like girl's best friend, right? Ren 1010, right? Haunted by my past, same shit, different mask like Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Where are you? But I spotted you out like Spud McKenzie. Figured out the game like the Bloodhound game. I thought you was my friend, you broke my heart again. Well, the game done switched. If you a dog, I'm a bitch. What?